The only tattoo I've ever covered up is my Olympic rings. I've got rid of it. And honestly, a lot of people are shocked by that because I've got lots of tats. And why do you think that's the only tattoo I've ever had removed? Because you seriously me, every fucker does it. Everyone's got the Olympic rings if they've been, and that's why I didn't want it.
Here's the promise then. If Baz gets the Olympic rings tattooed on his body...
There is no if.
Yeah.
You promise to come back for another episode of our podcast.
I'm going to come back anyway.
Oh, shit. Sorry, Baz, but that's it. It's been agreed.
It's been agreed. When you're on Dictionary Corner, you have a little earpiece put in, right? When it comes to you, and they say, oh, Joe from Middlesbrough, I had a 6-letter word. Can you do better? And then you always notice the guest of Dictionary Corner suddenly is very intelligent. Goes, yeah, you could have had an 8. Sophistication or whatever.
Yeah.
Basically, someone's in your ear and they say, if you haven't got anything better, you can have sophistication for an 8. Is 8? I don't know how many letters that is, but whatever.
I'm not even counting.
We can't talk about your successes all night.
We can.
Well, I mean, we could, but we're not going to because we're the Mildly Controversial podcast. So we're not going to talk about your successes all night. Let's talk about Strictly.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, sorry. Before we dive into that particular one, so how do you get approached to be involved with all these celebrity things? Because you've done a few now, haven't you?
Yeah, probably too many. But yeah, I think, well, basically, I started to get asked to do a bit of TV. Never fazed me. So, you know, I used to do a live interview at the end of a race. I used to absolutely love it, you know, to the extent me and Jamie would have a laugh and say, like, you've got to slip in the word this or you've got to say that. Whereas Roger and Mark was, oh, don't be so stupid, grow up. Whereas being, we're going to have a laugh. So I always enjoyed television. And I think it came to a stage in my career, I was having quite a few injuries and I turned down offers to do programmes. And I started to say yes. And then, you know, things like Strictly came about at a time where I was doing quite a lot with the One Show on the BBC and bits and pieces of Strictly was the best and the worst thing I've ever done in terms of, let's go there. I went out first and it was heartbreaking, but I was just angry because with a show, you do like a launch show, then you have week 1 when no one goes, then you have week 2, so in essence, third week. But my problem was when I did Strictly, I was also doing a BBC documentary and I was doing MotoGP. I was all over the place. And I think the judges got wind of the fact that I was all over the place. And for the first week of Strictly, I commuted. This sounds rock and roll, but I commuted from Japan. I was filming a documentary in Japan, and I literally had 2 days to learn the first dance, which everyone else had 2 weeks. And I wasn't the best dancer, clearly wasn't, but I wasn't the worst either. And I think the judges, when I look back at it, were so bloody harsh to me. Because I think, and they did help me, Peter Andre had been on Radio 1 and said, oh, Iwan Thomas is going to have it hard. He's only flying in tomorrow to learn the first dance. And I think the judges have probably thought, oh, he's doing it strictly for the money. He's not even taking it seriously. And I was. Truth is, I'd already signed up to do this other documentary where I was in Japan. So I actually loved Strictly, but going first bloody broke my heart. It honestly did, because I just thought, I'm the sort of person who would have got better if I'd been given the opportunity and done more training. And I actually maybe was a bit too cocky in my head, thinking, I won't go first. It won't be me. And it was. And yeah bloody gutted, because I loved it, because it's a great show. The production of it is like properly. You had code names and everything. So when you sign up to do the show, you're not allowed to tell anyone. And I had a code name. My name was Merlin. So like, I remember my first day for like, you know, filming the credits or getting my sequins sewn on. Taxi turned up and said, I'm here for Merlin. And I went, no, mate, my name's Iwan Thomas. I said, no, I'm here for Merlin. I went, mate, what are you talking about? Yeah. And I totally forgot my code name. It was so much secrecy around it. But it was good. It was great. But as I said, I was just gutted I went first.
Well, do you know what? Don't feel too downhearted, because in the research for this podcast that I did extensively, I saw that you were beaten by Daniel O'Donnell, who is I live in Donegal. He is like a legend.
He is a lovely man. No, he is a legend.
Yeah. So if you'd have beaten Daniel O'Donnell, you would have literally had an entire county of this country that I live in hating you. So And you would it would have been like if you'd have beaten Daniel O'Donnell, it would have been like punching a kitten.
This is true
because he's such a soft, lovely man, and if you'd have beaten him, it wouldn't have been fair.
Yeah, I'll make you love him even more. Genuinely, he's one of the guys I've kept in contact with, and we have a little WhatsApp group, and he is such a nice man, like legit. And the other one on the program who shocked me, I mean, Jeremy Vine, lovely bloke, but the one person in my year who at first I couldn't work him out, thought this can't be real, is Peter Andre. Like,
really?
So nice to the extent I thought on day one, I'm like, I'd met him once briefly before, and on day one I'm like, is he for real? Is he just like, it's just cheese, it can't be real. And it is. He's so nice. He'd go around and out to everyone, you know, the canteen lady, the cleaner, hello, Peter Andre, lovely to meet. And it's just like, you know, one of those nice people who just is lovely to everyone. Yeah, unless I've read it wrong. Like, I spent time with him, and he's just bloody lovely.
How
like everyone, I'm trying to think. Everyone in our year was nice. There was no one trying to think.
He was nice. I hate him.
Who?
He had abs, and he was nice. I hate him.
He's still got abs.
Yes, I'm
yeah, good guy. Just a good guy. Really nice guy.
Again, in my research, I've found there's another person that's. To be fair, it wasn't hard finding people who beat you in Strictly, for obvious reasons. But somebody who did beat you was Georgia May Foote.
Oh, lovely.
Right? Who's off Corrie.
Yeah.
And she's from Bury. So there you go. She represented Bury on my behalf, beating you because you beat me in the 10K
listen,
many years earlier. So there you go.
Everyone beat. Everyone literally beat me. I'm just trying to think of any other Northerners who beat me on that show.
To even be on there, even for one, for the time you're on, it's still a massive thing, because it is, like, in the very short time it's been around, 10 years or something, like 15 years? It's an institution, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the benchmark, if I'm honest with you, and this might sound arrogant, and I don't mean it to, but getting asked to do it, it was like, wow, I've kind of made it. I'm respected enough to go on Strictly in terms of, you know, it is hard to get on it. And the best thing, I didn't even ask to go on it. It was one of those things where the year, everything seemed to be going well. You know what life's like? When things are going well, normally something will come and kick you in the nuts and some shit will happen and it's horrible. But that year, it was just going really nicely. And I had the call. In fact, it was weird. I remember I was filming this documentary as I was doing, and I was filming the segment for it in Turkey. And I hate the word agent, it's so wanky, but my agent called me up and she goes, don't respond, because I know you're being filmed and there's people around. I went, yeah. And she went, da, 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 da. And I went, what? She said, yeah, they want you, it's done. I was like,
wow.
And I couldn't contain my excitement, because grannies like it, my parents like it, people respect it. And it's just one of those programs where, you know, if you get on that, you've done all right. I obviously didn't do all right when I got on it, but getting on it, I did all right, yeah.
But do you know what? The thing that there's a couple of things that you've said tonight is that you know, that you are of that level of status, celebrity, call it what you want. I know you're too humble to admit, but you are at that level of status and celebrity that you get called to go on to Strictly. But like you said earlier, you had 3 years of your professional athlete career when you were at your peak, and then you were kind of off that. So that shows that you must have offered something more. And you mentioned before about how you were recognisable, obviously, because, you know, there's not many white, red-haired lads at the absolute peak of 400-metre running and things like that. So it's something I think you should be really proud of. You had 3 years at the peak, but you've shown things there that have elevated you from other people in terms of your character, your personality, that have elevated you out of this 3 years at the peak. I know you had a career longer than 3 years.
I get it.
3 genuine years at the peak.
I'm always
kind of elevated out that people obviously like you, people recognise you, and to be able to have a career that has come from that is I think it's something you should be proud of.
Oh, thank you. I get kind of embarrassed about it, but one time someone talked to me when I was walking my dog, and they paid me the biggest compliment ever, and they said, "You're all right, you are." And I said, "Oh, thank you." He said, "Nice to meet you, Mr. 1%." And I went, "What?" He said, "You're 1% of 1%." I said, "Oh, what do you mean by that?" He said, "Well, you think about the amount of people who try and make it at the elite level of sport. It's probably 1% of the population." He said, "Like you," he said, "you only had a few good years. Who out of that 1% 20 years later is still kind of relevant enough that they get asked on TV shows and work?" He said, "There's probably you, Colin Jackson, Denise Lewis." He said, "You should be really proud of what you achieved." And you've just said it. And it does make me proud, especially now that I'm older and I'm a dad, because I think when life's going well, you take things for granted. So like, the 1996, 97, 98, I got the MBE. I had a Madame Tussauds waxwork, for fuck's sakes. I mean, all those kind of things. I was just like, oh, that's cool, because I thought it was going to last forever. I thought I'd have 10 years of being good at it, and I didn't. So I thank you very much first and foremost for what you said. But it does now, as I'm older, make me quite proud to think perhaps I was good, or perhaps I did bring joy to people's lives, or perhaps I did leave my mark, because those 3 years doesn't really show that I should still have relevance now. There's other great athletes who've been since me in the 400 or other events who don't really do much work and are known still. So no, I am very, very grateful for the platform that athletics gave me, and the fact that I had 3 good years. I used to be really bitter about it. I used to think, why me? My body's let me down there. I only had 3 years. There's cheating wankers out there who take drugs or whatever and get back from injuries quicker, which I never would have dreamt of doing. But then I actually now think, well, at least I had 3 years. There's some people who never even get a chance to realise their potential. So for all the years and I had dark years, I had lots of depression and what am I going to do with my life, and a lot of anger towards my sport and my body for letting me down. But now I'm a bit older and I look back, I think I'm so grateful for those 3 years, because it's given me everything.
I have this theory about, so like actors that you see in everything, the Eddie Marzans and the people that get invited to do loads of different films. I think they get those jobs because A, they're easy to work with, and they just come in and do a job. And I'm guessing that, like, because you've been around a bit now. It's been 25 years since, not you were at your peak, but from your sort of record break. But to be around this amount of time, like, there must be a reason that you're either easy to work with, or you just because that's what people want. They don't want some prima donna to rock in there and sort of turn up and like dictate to them what's going on. So I'm guessing that you must give people what they want.
I hope so. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, I've never." Listen, I genuinely am exactly the same as I was when I was a 14-year-old kid, and I think it's important. Like, all my mates are just regular geezers, like my mate Gumbo cuts across for the council, my mate Tim's a taxi driver, my best mate Steve's a fireman. I don't have show busy mates. I'm not interested in that life. If I like someone, I like someone. I don't care how successful the world deems you are or you're not. And I think perhaps that's kept me quite grounded, and as you said, I'd like to think I am easy to work with, and it's a small world and the industry talks, but maybe combine that with the fact that I ran bloody fast 25 years ago. So whatever it is, I'm really grateful. I know it won't last forever, and I'm not as busy as I was. Definitely, I'm not as busy as I was 5 years ago, but I'm busy enough that keeps me happy. And actually, I've got a really nice work-life balance at the moment, with being at home with the kids and working when I need to, and I enjoy it. I enjoy what I do. And there's been times over the years where I've done TV work, which, looking back, I wish I hadn't. I call it Scotland 500, because back in the day, if the One Show would phone me up and goes, "We need you in Scotland tomorrow, we got you a hire car, we'll pay you 500, I'll do it, because if I don't do it, someone else will do it. If it's not me, they'll ask another athlete or an ex-Olympian to do it. Whereas now, I'm in a position where I kind of do work that I want to do because I want to do it, and I'm not chasing my arse thinking about tomorrow, because I've worked hard, so I don't have to work so hard for tomorrow, if that makes sense. Because before, I'd say yes to everything because I thought that might be my last TV job ever. Yeah, I'll do it. There's so many shows I've done where I look back now, I shouldn't have done that. But we learn from our mistakes.
Yes.
Well, not so much. I'm just trying to say.
Come on now. You can't say that and then not name names.
I'm going to name a show, and actually, it's a shit example because I loved it. It was brilliant. have you seen it? Have you heard of a program called Release the Hounds? Like something. Have you seen that
Yes.
show?
Yeah.
Another reality show where I did it. I thought, why have I done that for? And actually, it was fucking brilliant. It was filmed in like, I think Lithuania, in the deepest forest somewhere where you're getting chased at. And actually, they film it when you were chased by the dogs about 3 a.m. So you're in a little caravan in the woods being held hostage and blindfolded. It's fucking hardcore. And they wake you up at 3 o'clock and you've got to sprint your ass off. So you're getting chased by bloody Alsatians or whatever. But, you know, I came back
I'm not making funny there. I'm going to have to stop you there. You've got a big fucking advantage on that bit.
You got a head start anyway.
You've got a massive advantage on that.
I think that's the whole point
they've got other people there. They've got other people on that show that are fucking TV personalities. You know what I mean? You've got form.
Yeah, the big fella from the chase. He had no chance, did he?
Yeah, I did it with Jamie Balsh, and he went before me. And he got caught by the dog. He got caught by the dogs. I didn't. But I've done so many reality shows or different TV shows, but I've always done them for a reason, with the right intentions at heart. You know, at the time, as I said, I thought it could be the last one, but yeah, fingers crossed I've done something right.
Do you know what? You've earned all that. Like I say, I keep banging on. And look, I make no apologies for blowing smoke up your arse by saying the fact that you've taken a 3-year career effectively. Some people could have just gone, oh fucking hell, that's all I wanted to do. Do you know what I mean? That's all I wanted to do. I was at the peak for 3 years, and then I tried to come back, came back, did a bit, and then came back and did a bit, but I never achieved what I did in that 3 years. And like you say, you had dark moments. So there were a lot of people who just fell into a pit of despair and gone, fucking hell, that's all I worked at for all my life. But for whatever reason it is, you've turned that into a career that has lasted 25 years.
Yeah. I'm quite ambitious, so I'm quite ambitious, and like, I'm a grafter. I think the athletics taught me nothing comes for free and nothing's easy, you know. And yes, I've had maybe some lucky opportunities in TV to do things or whatever, but I worked really hard for those 3 good years, and I've earned my stripes with the TV. Like, I talk about all these shows, which maybe I should have done, but maybe I should have done them, and maybe I did them, and maybe it's taught me a lot about myself and, you know, how to act around people in television. You know, like you said, you get found out if you're a dickhead, people won't want to work with you again. So, you know, I also never ever want to sit still. I always want to try and better myself. And I know it's dickish, but I want to be the best version of myself, whatever I do. So if I am doing MasterChef, I'm not the best cook in the world, but I want to leave that show looking in the mirror going, fuck me, you gave it everything. You really focused and you were determined and you trapped it. And that's what I do. So, you know, I'm hosting a business awards tomorrow night. I've done my prep, and I will work hard, and I'll rehearse tomorrow when I get that out. I just don't want to rock up and be shit at what I do. I want to try and be as good as I can be, and I try and install that. Although my kids are too young, but I do try and teach them already about, you know, being the best that they can be, and they're going to have days when they're naughty at school, but don't dwell on it. You know, work hard and try and be better. And that's how my dad was with me. My dad was very strict. He was ex-military, and, you know, nothing was ever good enough because he wanted me to be better, and I respect him for that.
Do you know what? There's definitely something in it, because, like I said, I mentioned earlier on in the podcast that my wife was very close to achieving Commonwealth Games, and she has got a phenomenal work ethic, and like you said, I think that's what it does. So she was a swimmer as well, so like. You must know from like Commonwealth Games and Olympics and that the swimmers are insane for their work ethic. I mean, she'd swim 2 or 3 hours before school, go to school, swim 2 or 3 hours after school, and all that kind of stuff. And you do that for years and years and years. At the time, it was an amateur sport, and it was like you get paid fuck all for this. But so that instilled a massively an incredible work ethic. In her, and I think you're right. I think that's where that's come from. That's come from, I want to be the best at what I want to do. And even though you only had that 3 years where you were at the peak of what you were doing, for the rest of your life, that has set you up for the rest of your life to be the best at what you're going to do.
I've got one mate in particular who's a successful entrepreneur. You know, he's done really well for himself, and you know, I think there's no coincidence. Like, sports people, if they decide to go in the real world, in the business world, do very, very well as well, because it is that work ethic, and it's that ruthlessness as well. You have got to be a bit of a wanker and be really, really self-centered to be good in sport. You really do. It's all about me. It has to be, because that's a short-lived career. And I think, you could take a lot of those good points and maybe arguably bad points to be successful in sport, to be successful in life. And it's the same as anything, isn't it? You get out what you put in. Unless you're very, very fortunate, you'll soon get caught out. You have to work hard to be good at whatever you do. I'll blow smoke at Baz's eyes, but at your social media, I freaking love it, and what you do might be easy for you, the way you do your transitions and however you film it. I watch some of your stuff and I'm like, how did he do it? And you're clearly good at what you do, and you make it look easy, but I bet it takes hours and hours to make a reel.
When you were just saying that you do prep for stuff, I thought Mike was going to out me, because I basically do fuck all prep for this show. I just put some rum in a glass and turn up and just, what are we doing? And so, but it is funny.
But then your strength, Baz, will be you're good with people, you're good at communicating, you're good at getting the best out of others. You don't necessarily have to prep for that. That's naturally something you have. People have different attributes and different strengths, don't they? And don't get me wrong, there's stuff I don't prep for, and I blag it and I do all right, but it's only because I've got the charm or the ability to read the room or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So I think we all get given a bit of a lucky break perhaps in life. Not everybody, but if you do get that opportunity, but you've got at least. If you hadn't told me that, I would have thought you'd prepped all afternoon for this. So you've blown your cover, but
I'm lying.
You make it look easy.
I'm lying. I did for this one because I think
he's definitely prepped for this, because he's coming up with stuff. It's like, hold on a minute, I've prepped and I didn't know that.
No. But in fairness, you, and a lot of the guests we've had on, other than Robbie. We have a lot of sort of social. We've had a lot of social media guests on, people that are sort of big on social media and and have big numbers. But there's a different kind of thing. Is there's actual lots of stuff written about you, and I was quite surprised when I was looking through. I've had a really interesting website which is dedicated to you, and had a really good bio, and obviously about the BMX stuff, and then even down to all of your injuries that you'd suffered over the years. And I was like, if I try to find out something like this about the people we'd had on, there isn't stuff written about quite a lot of detail about you, but I think it goes to show you that because you're in that sort of golden era of the time you were, and as Mike said, it's quite a short period of time that you were at the top of your game. But I think it's because you were at the top of your game. It's so people are still interested in the fact that you were in a good era of runners, in that part of that part of history, and 25 years later, and I had this thing. I had a bit of a gathering here last weekend, and I was saying that you were coming on the podcast, and I said, you and Thomas, do you remember him? And it's like, everybody was, yeah. So, which is nice. Well, no, it is nice because it's one of those things.
What you haven't added, everyone. I remember him. What a prick.
Well, do you know what? That's the thing. Is today I was having this conversation with two of my kids, and they're 13 and 16. And in the modern world, famous technically, me and Baz are probably more famous than you. Because we've got bigger numbers on social media, which means fuck all to the rest of us.
But
young people, it's like, oh well, you're that person's famous because they've got that number next to the name, and that person, whether it be on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever. But I said to my son, I said, if you took a picture of the person who is the lead guy on Dude Perfect, who've got 52 million on YouTube and are literally technically one of the most well-known people in the world. If you took a picture of that person and a picture of you around the UK and you showed it to people from 18 to 60, 80% of people would know you versus 20 of them. You know what I mean? And that's what celebrity is in real life. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But the new generation are if they ain't got the numbers, they're not famous. I don't get nervous before my podcast, but I said to the kids, I'm quite nervous tonight because he's more famous than anyone we've had on before. And my son was going, oh no, such and such has got 2 million subscribers. You don't understand what I'm saying. It's more people know who Ewan is than know who that is. It doesn't matter what number of subscribers they've got.
It's weird, isn't it? You think there was no social media when I was around. Nowadays, as you said, it's so different. And this is not knocking it, because I know what gamers can earn, and I know what YouTubers earn, and it is a way of life, and there's nothing wrong with it. But, you know, it strikes me, back in our day, you had to be successful at something to be famous.
100%.
You know, be it in sport, be it in business, be it on television, whatever it is. Now, you can go on Love Island and get shagged on Love Island, and you got 1 million followers the next morning.
Well,
you know, it's weird.
Can I? I'll be back in a minute.
but it's so different, and I think what worries me sometimes is, listen, and this is hand on heart, I would have run for absolutely nothing. I wouldn't give a shit if it was on TV. I just wanted to be faster than everyone else. It's simple as that. The perks that come with it were a bonus. But I think, and what I worry about is the new generation, is people want to be famous. And for the wrong reasons. You know,
they'll do anything to be famous.
Yeah, and they don't realise it's got its pitfalls as well. It's not all it's crap all the time. You know, but want something for the right reasons, because you want to be successful at it. You want to be the best YouTuber. You want to be the best gamer or whatever it is. Don't do it because you want people to know. You know, do you know what I mean? It worries me. It worries me for this generation. You know, like I said, Baz, about, you know, social media, whatever. The numbers, to a lot of people, it's really important, but people use that as a comparison. Like you said, Mike, you said your kid's a lot better and he's only got X amount of followers. You've had so and so on. But what worries me is people think that is the normal, and you have to look a certain way because Instagram tells you that, or you have to go on 3 holidays a year to be deemed as successful. And it worries me, the pressure that youngsters are on nowadays, because they have to try and conform and keep up with the Joneses, you know.
I also think it's become, this is a bit of a gloomy sort of thing as well, is I think it's become one of those things where if people are on the verge of being famous or well known for what they do, there's also that question from agents and people and sponsors now going, well, how many followers do you have on social media? Yeah. So it tends to be you're going to end up with people that not substandard, but people have bigger social media followings who are going to get a leg up over people who have no following but are genuine talent. Because I can imagine, that comparisons that someone who just worked every day at the track or with a coach, and then other people that had more high profile, the person with a high profile who might not be as good is going to get the leg up just because it looks good for sponsors and stuff like that, and that's worrying, isn't it? That's
what I used to love about athletics. The stopwatch doesn't lie. It's there in black and white. The selectors don't have to necessarily like you. You don't have to be the most popular person, but if that stopwatch shows I've run quicker than you and I've won the race, I've got to be selected. And that's why sport in many ways is brilliant, but it's brutal as well, because if you're injured, it's tough. Yeah. It's a very lonely sport, but it's not subjective. It's not down to someone's opinion on you. It's down to how quick is he, quicker than the others, get him on the plane. He's running for Britain, and that's how it was.
But talking about that quickness as well, is that why do you think it took 25 years for someone to beat your record? Because that's a long time. That's 20. Yeah. There's how many sort of British runners in that time, were good enough to get up there, but just never did it.
Well, this will be controversial, but I think the lottery in many ways it's been brilliant for sport, but also I think some athletes it's taken away their hunger. In terms of, we didn't have funding, so me, Roger, Jamie, Mark, we had to get medals at major championships to get our individual sponsorship to survive, to earn, to thrive. Yeah. Whereas I think a lot of athletes over the last 10, 15 years are a little bit soft. I don't think they train as hard as we did. It's all become very scientific. All their watch tells them they haven't recovered much last night. Oh, sorry, coach, I don't think I can train that hard today. Whereas in my day, it was your fucking run 6-300 until you puke up. There was no, scientific, you must be eating this, you must be doing that. Yeah. We were hardcore and we wanted it, and I was desperate to be the best. So I would push myself probably further than my body could go. Whereas I think a lot of modern day athletes, because they've got all the research to tell them, well, you shouldn't be doing this, you've done 2 hour sessions in a week, take it easy. They've almost become a little bit accustomed to softness, whereas we were hard bastards. We were.
Maybe they're training for a 15-20 year career, which in football makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Whereas in athletics, if your objective is to get world records and get the best times, you're not just beating people now, you're beating people forever.
Yeah.
With records.
That's a good point, and I'll just quickly say on that.
Yeah.
With hindsight, I probably trained too hard, and that's probably why my body only had 3 winters, 3 good summers, because it had had enough. And if I had a crystal ball, would I change that? Would I have changed 3? Would I have trained half as hard, knowing I'd have 6 years? If I'm honest, I don't think I would. I think things are meant to happen, but there is an argument, and you are correct. Look after your body, and you'll be around for a lot longer. Whereas in my day, it was, no, it's all about now. It's all about this race next week and trying to beat Johnson and do whatever we had to do. So, yeah, I think sport has become a little bit different.
Well, I think it proved that purely in the fact that the record stood for so long, is that you put everything on the line at that point. Because arguably, like, in theory, athletes should get quicker and quicker year on year because of science, because of training.
I thought my record would have gone years and years ago, but I think also it's a credit to my domestic rivals. I think, as I said earlier, if 44.7 would have made me the European record holder, then maybe I only would have run that quick. I had to run 44.3 to beat Mark Richardson. So, if I hadn't had that rivalry, perhaps I wouldn't have run that quick and the record wouldn't have been around for so long. Who knows?
Well, I mean, there's a point of which, like, so who's the current British record holder?
Yeah, a guy called Matt Hudson-Smith.
Yeah, so I saw that. Like, if we're doing a podcast with him in 25 years, he'll have done the right thing, but I don't think we will.
No, who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
Listen, while we're talking about him, this is one thing I wanted to ask you is, you set a record in 1997, and it was broken in 2022. What were your emotions when that record was broken in 2022?
I wanted to ask this as well, yeah.
Truthfully, it was a massive weight off my shoulders.
Oh, really?
This is going to sound me weird saying it, but I had it hanging over me everywhere I went. It was Iwan Thomas British record holder, or even with my mic, the job I do, the voice of God. Please welcome former European Commonwealth champion, the British record holder. And it was almost like, someone please beat it, because as a lover of my sport, I wanted it to move on. On a selfish note, half of me, of course, the arrogance, I loved it. No one's ever run quicker than me on the British record holder. So on one hand, I was very, very proud of that. But on the other hand, it let me draw a line underneath my career. Let me say goodbye to it. I'm not an athlete anymore. I was a very good athlete. I'm now a fucking good dad. My life's moved on. It's moved on. And like, when Matt broke it, honestly, it was like, thank God, about time. And that's how I kind of felt about it, truthfully.
That's brilliant. And obviously, with doing the trackside stuff that you do, you've spent time with him. You must know him.
Yeah, very much.
So, what was the conversation when he broke the first time you saw him after he broke it?
I gave him a hug, and then he went on to get a world bronze at Eugene last year, and I broke track etiquette, and my job is stay where I am until there. I just dropped my mic and ran and hugged him. Genuinely, I was buzzing for him. I was really proud, because he's had quite a tough time with injuries, and he's very different to me. I don't know how to say it politely. I'm not even being in. He's a little bit different to me in terms of, I think he's still learning the event. I truly think every time he runs, he's quite sporadic. One day he'll run really quick, the next day he'll run slower. Then another day he'll go, how have I done that? He doesn't, in my mind, break down the race as, he's not a scholar of the event, I don't think, as Roger Black was. He's just raw talent, and I love that about him. And he's going to run even quicker. So genuinely, I was buzzing for him when he got that record.
Was there ever a thought about like coaching?
No, I don't think so. I don't really have the time to coach. I help a couple of athletes like on the end of the phone, and I try and give them advice when I can. But to be a coach, you've got to give it. It's everything. It's not a job. It's a passion. It's something you do. Well, it is a job now, but it wouldn't be for me. It's not something I'd want any financial reward for. I just want, if there was a local kid to me who would have to give me the commitment that I gave it, I'd coach them. But my fear is I'd get someone who's a bit soft and like, I can't train today. My legs are a bit tight, and I couldn't have that. I'd be too tough as a coach. I'd expect everything.
Do you know, I've got I have obviously, the podcast being the podcast, I have a mildly controversial opinion about athletics. And I think it ties in a little bit, and I'm not putting pressure on you to agree with this, by the way. I'm saying it ties in a little bit with you explaining why your record lasted for so long. And my mildly controversial opinion about athletics is people shouldn't get Olympic tattoos unless they've won a medal.
Very funny you mentioned that. The only tattoo I've ever covered up is my Olympic rings. I've got rid of it. And honestly, a lot of people are shocked by that because I've got lots of tats on.
Yeah.
You got a T-shirt underneath there, haven't you? I see that.
Basically, yeah. My first ever tattoo was the Olympic rings, and I got it when I came back from Atlanta. In fact, when I got selected for Atlanta, I went to a tattoo place called Tattoo Magic in Southampton. I went, I'm going to the Olympics. Can you tattoo the Olympic rings? And fair play, the guy went, no, I'm not doing it. You come back from the Olympics and then tell me you still want that tattoo and I'll do it. I came back with my medal, went, there's me fucking one for a tattoo. I've got a medal. He went, I'll do it.
The mildly controversial view on this is that if you've been to the Olympics but didn't win a medal, you come back and you tattoo the Olympic rings on you. You've tattooed the Olympic rings on you, celebrating the same number of medals that I've got.
Yeah. Do you know
what I mean? And I know clearly that I've phrased it like that to be mildly controversial. But I think, and again, funnily enough, I'm no fucking expert in elite sport, but I'm thinking that I don't think any Australians would do that, right?
No.
Because the Aussies are just fiercely competitive, and as a nation, for the number of for the population they've got, I think, I might be wrong, but I think they overachieve for the population that they've
100%.
got, right? Because they are getting to the Olympics, fuck all, pal. You know, in Australia, it's like, get to the Olympics, means fuck all. Come back with a medal. Yeah, fair play. And I think that is, it kind of ties in a little bit to the stuff you were saying, is like, these days, they're like, people look after themselves, they don't push themselves to the absolute limit. So if you see that qualifying for the Olympics is an achievement, and you've got you've got a tattoo, or thinking about getting a tattoo because you've qualified for the Olympic Games, you've achieved your goal. You might as well fucking go home.
Mike, I totally agree. For some people, that is their end game, just to make the team. But with no disrespect to them, why do you think that's the only tattoo I've ever had removed? Because you see to me, every fucker does it. You know, like you go to the Olympics. Not everyone, because clearly not everyone goes to the Olympic Games. You know, sounds blasé, but everyone's got the Olympic rings if they've been, and that's why I didn't want it. I had it. Maybe one day I'll have it again, but I'll have it discreet, really tiny somewhere. But it became the tattoo. I didn't want it to define me. In terms of, like I said, I've been to the Olympics. I got a medal, so I deserve to have that tattoo on my body if I wanted to. And everyone's got their own right if they've been to a game to get a tattoo. But I totally agree with you. For me, I'm not saying you see them everywhere, but you see them a lot now, and I'm like, I'm not having it. So the other one's gone.
I said to Mike that once on here that I would get anything tattooed. So I think now that I'm friends with you, I think I'm going to get the Olympic rings tattooed.
Why don't you just get 4 out of the 5 Olympic rings? You don't quite deserve all 5. There's chances you could have 4.
No, do you know what, Baz, I challenge you now to get the Olympic rings tattooed on you, because in our view, and I think we're agreed, you deserve it as much as anybody who went to the Olympics but didn't get a medal.
Okay. I guarantee, I'm saying this on the podcast now, I'm going to get them done.
This is brilliant.
I will do. Honestly,
and then we'll have a photo together, and we'll do a caption: "Spot the Olympian." You can have the Olympic tattoo.
This is incredible. This is incredible. I love what's happened here this evening. I love that has happened.
Well, this is what I love about tattooing.
If you get the Olympic rings in, what will I have to do? I'll have to get a little tattoo of a beer bottle or something somewhere.
Yes,
we can have a role reversal. I'm going to have to come with you when they get the Olympic rings tattooed. I think we have to film. I'm going to come. Yeah, for it.
There are some good tattooists in Southampton as well, so yeah, I'll come down there and get it done. Honestly, that was a weird thing that happened tonight.
So here's a promise then. If Baz gets the Olympic rings tattooed on his body, you promise to come back for another episode of our podcast.
I'm going to come back anyway.
Oh shit! Sorry, Baz, but that's it. It's been agreed.
Yeah, it's been agreed. You're making me feel guilty. Maybe I should get the Olympic rings done at the same time as well. Maybe I should get put back on this.
Now that is gold.
Yeah,
you both get them. Baz gets them done to prove the triviality of having the Olympic rings, and you have them done next to him. But do you know what? You need to colour one of them in silver. And I'm sure you can't tattoo silver, but do you know what I mean?
You can.
You need to do something.
Yeah,
there you go. You have one of the rings done in silver to make a difference.
That's great. So I could have, get the tattoo rings. And I said one of them in silver.
One of them's nice. Silver. Yeah?
Nice.
I love this. By the way.
I'm genuine. I'm genuine, by the way. I'm no false promises. I will get that tattoo done.
Yeah,
and I know you don't care, but I'm genuine as well. That I will get on a plane and I'll come down and join in as well. And fuck it, I'll get some tattooed. Well, I'll have to bring my daughter's a tattooist, so I'll have to bring her, and she'll have to do mine. In fact, fuck it. I know it's just she does all three of our tattoos. And that's it. Deal. Absolute deal. It's done. Oh Jesus! Right, I've visibly and audibly got very overexcited about that.
So just so you know, that that involves us having a night out in Manchester. Oh no!
Oh yes, please.
Yeah.
There's a night out in Manchester going to happen. Yeah. I'm going to have, I don't know what tattooed on me. Baz is going to have the Olympic rings tattooed on him to show the futility of Olympic tattoos. Then Iwan is going to have a tattoo of the Olympic rings back onto his body because he's proud again with a silver one in there. We've made a promise. It has to happen, lads. Let's do it. Right.
Do it.
Oh, blimey. I'm very excited about that. Anyway, the next thing I wanted to ask you about was you being in fucking Dictionary Corner on Countdown.
Oh,
That's not interesting anymore. But to be fair, when I went on Wikipedia, it said this is where it gets interesting. I went on Wikipedia and it said in February 27, Iwan Thomas was a guest on Dictionary Corner on Countdown, and it said brackets citation needed. Can you citate that? Can you be the citation? Did that happen?
Did what happen?
It says.
Go on.
It said that you were a guest on Dictionary Corner on Countdown.
Yeah. This is correct. This is correct. I'm just thinking whether I can give away a trade secret or not.
Oh, go on then.
When you're on Dictionary Corner, you have a little earpiece put in, right? When it comes to you, and they say, "Oh, Joe from Middlesbrough, I had a 6-letter word. Can you do better?" And then you always notice the guest on Dictionary Corner suddenly is very intelligent. Goes, "Yeah, you could have had an 8, sophistication or whatever." Yeah. Basically, someone's in your ear, and they say, "If you haven't got anything better, you could have sophistication for an 8." Is 8? I don't know how many letters that is, but whatever.
I'm not even counting.
Mate, if it is, that's brilliant to just come up with that off the top of your head.
SOPHI.
It's longer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about. Yeah.
Sophisticate.
Anyway,
It was sophisticate.
So basically, you get the opportunity to come up with something, and Susie Dent will point out something in dictionary to help you. But you come across, my mum and dad phoned me up after I was on it and went, "Oh, you did really well. You got an 8-letter word." I went, "Yeah, I know I did."
You should go on it. You're really good. You'd have beaten him. Listen, thanks so much, Iwan, for your time. Really, really appreciate it. We've had a great chat, and we've heard some brilliant stuff. And it's not been the usual interviews you might have got elsewhere. And I think we've got not the usual answers we've really got elsewhere as well. So it's been. I really appreciate your time. Really appreciate you being open with us, and I really appreciate you agreeing to be tattooed at a future date by my daughter when the three of us meet up in Manchester. And I've literally never been so excited about anything other than Christmas when I was about 7. So that is 100% going to happen. So before we go, I'm going to give Baz the opportunity to ask the last question.
Well, no,
because you know what? I used to always give Baz the opportunity to ask the last question. Then I came up with this Alan Partridge thing of, and on that bombshell we end the show, and it kind of cut off Baz's thing.
Yeah.
So forevermore it's going to be, on that bombshell. We didn't do a bombshell this week, but anyway. And on that bombshell, it's all we got time for this week. Over to Baz for the last question.
So it's more just because now you've got an interest in social media, because this is obviously how we've met. Where can people find you, and what have you got coming up next? I know it's a big question, but it's like, so yeah, give out your socials to, because I think it's one of those things where if people know you but don't know that you're on social media, because you're on Instagram and obviously on Facebook, but you're mainly on Instagram these days, right?
Yeah, just Instagram really. I don't even use Twitter much anymore. I think it's a bit vile, but
we need to get you on TikTok, by the way. So
yeah, my battery's going to die. Iwan Runner, I am. So IWAN. I can't spell my name. IWAN Runner. I'm always up for fun stuff, not with that stuff mainly. But yeah, Baz, me and you are going to do something on Instagram soon.
Yes,
apart from getting the tattoos done, we've got to do one of your crazy transitions. But yeah, it's been a pleasure to be on. I can't wait to see you both again, getting tattooed, and I would love to come on anytime you want me back on this podcast. I'd love to come back on. Thank you for making it enjoyable. I've loved it.
Iwan, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your kind words there. And everyone would have been expecting, as when we get a guest on, everyone would have been expecting us to ask you for mildly controversial opinions. But we have literally run out of time for 2 podcasts here because we've had so much fun. We'll get you back on again, and it'll be, we don't talk about you, we just go straight into the mildly controversial opinions.
Sounds good. I'll be back on. Maybe that first controversial opinion was, should we have let your daughter tattoo us? Who knows?
And the answer will be probably not. And on that bombshell, that's all we've got time for this week. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Iwan, again. And really looking forward to meeting up and getting tattooed, which is not something I thought I would agree with tonight, but I apparently did. Anyway, thanks Baz. Thanks, Iwan. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And we will see you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye. What was that noise, Baz?
I don't know. I'm playing some American accent for when we get.
I was expecting goodbye, but it'll be enough.